Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Shaun alongside my guys, Kevin Dent, Jaevon Toddy. Kaz Johnson of Just Casually won't be with us this week, but hopefully he will be back with us next week. We're back for another episode, number 167. Kevin, I see you wearing the Kelly green. You're probably feeling pretty good right now, just as Blue is. But how you feeling after that Eagles 10-7 win?
Dude, that game was stressful. That game was we made that game a lot stressful, a lot more. We put a lot more into that than we should have. Once we started simplifying things in the second half, we were able to start finishing drives. That turnover after a 17-play drive really sucked a lot of air out of us. But shout out to our defense, man. Vic Fangio, time after time, finding out ways to figure it out against opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah, as Joe Buck was saying, with like 2 to 3 minutes left in the first half, that he said that it had to be one of the most entertaining, scoreless Monday Night Football games at the half, and that's really what it ultimately was. And in what was a tremendous matchup between the Packers and the Eagles, it finishes with a 10-7 final, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But before we do, Mr. Jaevon Toddy, the Podfather, how are you doing today?
All right. We had an interesting game, I guess. Didn't have the chance to watch it. You guys probably know why. Disney doesn't like me. They got a vendetta against me. So, playing it by ear. Saw the last couple of seconds here and there. But Very low scoring game. The underbettors were probably just counting their money at halftime.
Toddy, you don't check out any of those websites? Do I need to put you on?
See, these websites, they're up in the air with me. I'll get it for about 10 seconds. It'll cut out on me. Gotta go back, click it again. It'll be working for 5 minutes, go out on me. See, a guy like me who gambles needs some consistency in his life. He doesn't need to
And that's why the YouTube
worry.
TV.
He doesn't need to have to worry about a game cutting off here, a boxing fight cutting off here. He doesn't want to have that in the back of his mind that, damn, this is not going to last forever. This is going to cut out at some point in time. I want to make sure that I am stable. But hey, here I am in this position, thinking that it's all good, everything. I'll be able to watch all the channels that I pay for, but absolutely not. Disney and ESPN are making my life a living hell when it comes to watching sports. So, we're here now.
We are here now, and Juan in a Million says on Instagram, "Fire Vonnie, he doesn't know ball." But maybe it's because we can blame YouTube TV. As Uncle Manny says on YouTube, I have YouTube TV as well. Had to just get the ESPN streaming service.
I refuse. They're not getting no more of my goddamn money, Uncle Manny. I refuse.
Uncle Manny, I already have the Disney Plus bundle that allows me to get ESPN. And then when you try to watch the football game, it says, you're not allowed to watch this. It's locked. You're blocked. And I'm like, why am I blocked? I pay $30 a month for the goddamn bundle. I should be able to watch ESPN, right? Because I'm paying for ESPN. Oh, you don't have ESPN Unlimited. You got ESPN Select. Well, we just making up names now? We just making up shit on the fly at this point. So,
well, Toddy, I'll put you on. I know some websites that have been updated and they seem to be pretty consistent. So I'll put you on after the podcast. I'm not going to say it on the podcast because I don't need everyone and their mama getting on these websites. So then I can no longer use it. So gotta pass it out very sparingly. Anyways, Uncle Manny also says, "Wow, that is crazy." And also shout out to Grey Wolf for always tapping in saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. I hope nobody had any frauds in their fantasy lineups like I did. Both kickers let me down. I had Eddie Pinheiro in 2 of my lineups, and he let me down. Jaevon, I think you have him in 1 of yours in our Stats Over Politics Fantasy Football League." And
I got 2 words for you. Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, man.
Mic drop.
He's making a case to be the best running back in football. And so
I don't think that's really the case.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I framed it that way is I feel like Kevin might disagree on that one, but we shall see.
Saquon was the best last year, so
at least he's not living in the past.
Well, congrats to all 3 of us as well for winning our matchups in the Stats Over Politics Fantasy Football League. But I'm still up at the top right now, and shout out to Kevin for beating Cousin Fern, because now I have sole possession of first place in the Stats Over Politics Fantasy Football League. So
that's how you be at 5th place. So now I'm 3rd. So I mean, hey, it was a great day for everybody.
I'm back.
Yes, I guess all of us are doing well right now, and so all of us know ball, just like Ball Knower University. And so let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's get right into it. As Grey Wolf says, I had Boswell and McManus, he had a chance there late in Monday Night Football to tie the game from 64 yards out. His attempt on the free kick was a lot closer than what his second kick was, as the first kick just fell probably about 5 yards short. The second kick just absolutely hooked left, and it was not even close to being a field goal. But nevertheless, the Eagles win 10-7 against the Packers. And so, Kevin, rocking your Kelly Green, Jalen Hurts jersey, I'm going to toss it to you first. As you were saying in the opening, that your team made it a lot harder than it needed to be. The defense was locking in, and then you eventually put things together later on. But just how are you feeling? Because we did something new this past week with our power rankings, and you and Kaz both had the Eagles at number 1. I didn't have the Eagles in my top 5, and they get a big road win in Green Bay against the Packers. So since you already dove into the game a little bit, now I ask you, you stand 10 toes down on your take that the Eagles are number one, as your jersey indicates?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're like Thanos. It's inevitable. Either our offense is going to carry us or our defense is going to carry us. And I just want to say, Howie Roseman, God bless you. I was one of the guys saying, fuck them picks. Let's go get Myles Garrett. And he said, Kevin, Jalen Phillips, 3rd round pick. Let's do that first. Let's see how the waters work. 8 pressures game high, 7 hurries, 6 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, and a fumble recovery, and it was a part of a game-winning stop. Jalen Phillips came in this game and made his presence known. 3rd round draft pick. It's put a lot of pressure on these guys because we had Nolan Smith come back from injury. He had a sack. Jalix Hunt came back, but he came into this week. He got a sack. Having guys on the edge is what Philly's known for. We're known for having guys, a multitude of guys that we could throw in on that edge to really put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And that's all they were saying throughout the game was Jordan Love. This pressure is really forcing Jordan Love to do a lot of different things. Jordan Love and this offense really couldn't get anything going. Josh Jacobs completely carried that team until number 13. His name is skipping my head on the back. Contavious Wicks started blowing up, and he was doing everything for this offense. So it's nice to see that we were finally able to get a win against the Packers in Green Bay. Last time we did that was Jalen's rookie year when he only played the second half because we pulled him for Carson Wentz. So it's nice to see us get a win. Kevin Patullo, we're still having problems offensively. It's starting to get annoying when we run the ball and they just all out blitz us. Like they're not even respecting us throwing the ball. And this is the first game in a long time where I feel like I'm on AJ Brown's side. 2 targets, and then we're gonna say 4th and 8. We're not gonna punt. We're just gonna throw the ball to AJ Brown. Where was that mentality the whole fucking night? And I get it. When you look at the all 11, they're doubling them. That's why Smitty and Goddard are making plays after plays. Saquon's making plays in the passing game. But we have to find a way to get this going because later down the line, Saquon's been able to explode a couple of times, but throughout the season, we haven't really seen that. And we lose guys like Cam Jurgens. We lose guys like Lane Johnson into the last 2 possessions. So if we're going to have to rely on this running game, it's going to have to do something. Because we're running into brick walls over and over and over. I literally got a notification on my phone that Saquon Barkley had a 16-yard loss. 16-yard loss. How does that happen? That just goes to show that everyone in America says the Eagles are going to run the ball. And we're running the ball. Last thing I want to say, I don't want to talk about this too long. Best team in the world to answer your question, Shaun. And this game, I don't think we really showed it. But next Sunday in Detroit, that's when we put the world on notice. Because the NFC North is the best division in football, but we just Vikings, Packers. I mean, we're gonna play Chicago on Black Friday, and we're gonna do to them. So if they're the best division in football, we just run through it. So a lot of great things to see, and I'm really looking forward to next Sunday. Oh, and one other thing, Micah Parsons is our son, no matter what. You can go to Green Bay. You can go to Dallas. It ain't going to change nothing. I just want you to know that. Lane Johnson is your father. He didn't line up against Lane Johnson one time all game.
Damn. You really just put Micah Parsons on notice right there. And so, Jaevon, I know due to YouTube TV that you were unable to tune into this game in its entirety, but does the result surprise you at all? Like, we all picked the Eagles to win this game, and when I saw the everybody graphic go out around 4:30, I thought to myself, damn, this is the one game that I actually would have considered flipping my pick because the Packers are a formidable team. Ultimately, I didn't, and I ended up benefiting from that. But I definitely thought that the Packers were going to have a shot to win this game, and them only losing by 3 points kind of indicates that. But were you surprised at all by this result, Jaevon? Why or why not?
I thought the game would be higher scoring. Obviously, I think that was something that a lot of people were kind of surprised by was the score. I think it was the first time in like Monday Night Football history. It was like a 0-0 at halftime.
Since 2009.
Yeah, since 2009. So been a long time coming for that. I just think I kind of agree with Kevin. The offensive play calling has been very
abysmal,
spotty,
trash, awful
the entire year, and that was one of the things coming in. Obviously, they lose Kellen Moore, former Boise State quarterback that won in I think it was the Fiesta Bowl. That Kellen Moore,
the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, Statue of Liberty, play of the game. Kids today won't know. I guess we're all dating ourselves, but just go back and watch the Fiesta Bowl, Boise State. If you don't know what we're talking about, all the TikTok.
And then on top of that too, one of his teammates proposed to his girlfriend after the game. A football player and a cheerleader got married after that Oklahoma Boise State game. Very many memories from that game.
That's besides the point. As far as the offensive play calling for the Eagles has been a little bit shaky. I always tell Kevin, hey Kev, why doesn't the head coach just call the plays?
After Dan Campbell did that, I'm like, look,
Kevin's like,
everyone else is doing it.
We might as well just go to that.
We might as well give it a shot. It got to be better than this.
Guys, I think what it came down to, and I kind of like to refer this to a college football. I don't think it's they have similar offensive personnel at Auburn. I just think that when it comes to the Eagles, they have better receivers than most DBs. And when you have better players, you kind of just let your better players be better than everybody else in the field. And by that, Devontae Smith on a go ball, I'm just going to throw it up to Devontae Smith, former Heisman Trophy winner, and he's going to make a play on the ball because he's better than the guy that's guarding him. He's going to be able to make a play for us. And I feel like at that point in time, you got to, like Kevin was talking about Saquon Barkley having a 16-yard loss, which is just insane to say. You got to get your guys involved, whether that's in the run game or in the pass game. Jalen Hurts can make the necessary throws when needed. I just don't know if the system or the scheme is fitting what their personnel is currently. And it shouldn't be hard because you got all-pro wide receiver, all-pro running back in the backfield. Like, it shouldn't be hard to figure out how to get these guys involved. But apparently it's geometry 3 or calculus to whoever it is that's trying to call these plays. So I think right now the Eagles are figuring out ways to win because they have better players. But I feel like how far will that get them when it comes to time, like in the playoffs against other teams that have similar skill sets and similar personnel to them when they have to go up against guys that are just as good. So Kevin was talking about next week how they're on the road at Detroit. So that'll be a good test for them. But tonight was a really, really good test because I think the Packers are a very talented team, but they're kind of in a weird situation with how their division is and what their record standpoint is. So them not being able to produce points at home against a valuable opponent was a little bit – and that's in back-to-back weeks too. They weren't able to get it done against Carolina. They dropped two games at home against Carolina and now against the Eagles. So and I don't think the Packers have lost back-to-back home games since like Favre. So gotta go back to the
game's actually in Philly, by the way. That was a mistake.
Yep, on Sunday Night Football, Kevin, you read my mind. I was just about to add that in there. So the Eagles, but regardless of whether if it's in Detroit or in Philadelphia, it's going to be a huge game coming up next Sunday night, and I, for one, am really looking forward to it.
We can watch that game, Kevin.
Shout out to Peacock or NBC if you got old school linear television. But speaking of Sunday Night Football, let's take it back to just over 24 hours ago, about 25 hours ago, as the Chargers beat the Steelers 25-10. I checked in with my Steeler fan friends. I checked in on Gary, and he just said, yeah, I got a double whooping yesterday between the Kings and the Steelers because the Kings lost by basically 30 points to the Timberwolves 2 days after they lost by 30 points to the Thunder. And so, yep, and Gary had a double whammy with his Steelers and Kings fandom, as did my friend Keith, who has said multiple times on this podcast, in the weeks between, he has said, Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl. Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl. I checked in on him last night, and he texted me back this morning because he has an early morning job. And he texted me back this morning, and he said, season's over. And I said, yeah, until next week when they win. Then you're going to say that they're winning the Super Bowl again. But this is life as a Steelers fan since about 2010. As we know, they made it to the Super Bowl in 2010 when they lost to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But Jaevon, I'm going to toss this to you first. Was this game more so about the Steelers losing it, or did the Chargers win it because they're just a superior team?
I did think the Steelers were kind of coming off of a big win in the previous week, and the Chargers were kind of they lost Joe Alt to season-ending injury, so their O-line is pretty beat up. But I do think that their skills positions have been panning out. Like Ladd McConkey has been making plays. Quentin Johnston has just resurged his career. Marcellus was at the game yesterday because his girl is a Steelers fan, and he had to sit through it all. I am a little bit shocked on how bad the offense was for the Steelers, just given the fact that I would have thought that Aaron Rodgers would have been able to put up a little bit more of a fight. The Chargers defense showed up, able to cause a lot of pressure to the elderly Aaron Rodgers. I say that because you can just see in his movements a little bit that he's a little old, and they were getting to him, causing a lot of pressure. And I think when it came down to it, Justin Herbert was making play after play after play, and the Steelers weren't able to really match points with the Chargers. And the defense didn't really play as well as they did the week before, they caused like 5 turnovers against the Colts last week, and they weren't able to duplicate that. Usually the Chargers, every away team usually packs the stands out with the opposing fans. Kevin is he's been to that stadium, so he knows usually the opposing team kind of takes over. But that didn't phase the Chargers this year or this game. And I thought Herbert played really well, and I think Herbert's starting to play like top 5 quarterback. Just given all of the injuries that he's had to his O-line, in and out of having skill players in and out of the lineup, and him being able to still go out there and make the damn thing happen. Hey, maybe the Steelers or the Chargers should have been top 5 team. Maybe I don't know, ball. Maybe Juan was up to something in the comments. Because I have picked against the Chargers the last 2 weeks, and I've paid for it tenfold. So the Chargers are one of those teams that we got to start talking about. Like, hey guys, year 2 Harbaugh. I've seen what year 2 Harbaugh, year 1 Harbaugh's been able to do, and being able to take over a franchise in the NFL. Obviously, in the NCAA at Michigan, winning a national championship there. He goes places, and he just needs a little bit of time. But usually they're playing either for a national championship or for a Super Bowl, or they're in the playoffs. And I think the Chargers are going to be one of those teams at the end of the year in the AFC that we're going to be like, we don't want to play that team in the playoffs.
Well, I was actually the only one to pick the Chargers in this matchup, which kind of surprised me. And so, Kevin, what was your reaction to the result of this game as the Chargers beat the Steelers by 15, but it really wasn't even that close?
Aaron Rodgers looked like a 41-year-old quarterback. I mean, he just can't escape the pocket. He took a safety when he really didn't have to. But we knew they were really big at the trade deadline. It came out that Jacoby Myers, they made the same offer that the Jacksonville Jaguars did for Jacoby Myers. And he was like, yeah, bro, I'm not going there. I want to go to Jacksonville. So it just goes to show that they just can't figure it out. When they really have these blow-up offensive games, it's because the Pat Fairmuse and it's a tight end-led offense. DK Metcalf has a couple big weeks, but he has multiple games with under 4 receptions. So if you're not going to be able to get DK Metcalf the ball, it just goes to show that you're really relying on Jaylen Warren. And some nights that's going to work, and some nights it's not. this Chargers defense isn't really one of the greatest in the league, but if you're going to give them 2 turnovers and a safety, I mean, it's going to make it easy for them. They really couldn't get things going. It was a very close game until it wasn't. It was that second quarter is really when they took it away because it was 3-2 going into second quarter, and then they scored 10 points. And then after that, they really never turned around. The fourth quarter, they also scored 10 points. So shout out to Keenan Allen becoming the all-time leading receiver in Chargers history, passing Antonio Gates. I thought that was pretty cool. And Keenan Allen is one of those guys to where you look at like Dwayne Wade in a Cavs jersey, you're like, you should have never left. Like, I get it. You wanted to go play with Caleb Williams. It was a hot new toy, but you should have never left. So it's nice to see him back in LA. I don't think the Chargers are a legit team. I know Toddy said, maybe we should have put them in the top 5. I don't think there was a team. I mean, 2020 vision, we obviously could have put them in front of the Bills, knowing what was going to happen, but no one could have guessed that. But the Chargers have a lot of things going for them, and they're able to figure it out. Like Toddy said, they're throwing in guys on the offensive line, and they're making it work. So hats off to them, but the Steelers look really, really bad.
Yeah, and as Marcellus says on am I looking at that correctly? That it says now I am Marcellus Dent. Am I seeing that correctly, or are my eyes deceiving me?
In the basketball episode, he was like, "What do I got to do to be a Dent?"
Oh, okay. I was like, because like on his previous comment, it says Marcellus Dolson, and then it became Marcellus Dent. Oh man, that's good. That's real good. For the audio only listeners, Marcellus says there were Steeler fans everywhere. I didn't know it would be a baseball game, and what he's saying with the baseball game is regarding that 3-2 score. Because yesterday, Allie and I, when we were on a date, we saw the TV, and I saw the score was 3-2. And I literally said to her, I was like, wow, it's a baseball game right now. Like, that's crazy. It's always weird anytime you see a safety, and Marcellus is quite proud of himself with all the laughing emojis. But now, guys, moving on to our final game that we're going to get to in depth here on episode 167 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. The Bears beat the Giants 24-20. And this morning, the Giants ended up firing their head coach, Brian Daboll. And so we're going to get to the game itself first. And for the audio-only listeners, Jaevon is creeping up on the screen, and his face was occupying like 60% of the screen right there. I might have to go back and screenshot.
I say, if we're going to do the big ones, Todd, you can't do the creep up. If we're going to do the small screen, brother, people are going to watch this and be like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, so the reason why we are in the vertical screen right now, vertical thirds, is because I noticed with our Instagram stream that when we had it in boxes like we usually do with the backdrop and everything, then it puts us in verticals on the Instagram stream. And it doesn't look as good on the Instagram stream in the verticals, but it looks better with us in the vertical thirds on computer and whatever streaming device you might use. But then if you guys were to check out the Instagram stream right now, it has us in the full boxes. So Jaevon, like right now when you were just creeping up on the vertical stream on YouTube and whatever streaming devices people use, you were center of the screen. But then Jaevon, when you were doing that on the Instagram stream, you're like the top half of your face was cut off, and it looked pretty funny. But anyways, we're trying out new technology here with StreamYard. But the overall point is the Bears beat the Giants 24-20. Jaevon is feeling quite good about himself and the Chicago Bears and his guy, Caleb Williams. I wasn't able to make it for last week's podcast, but I was listening, and I heard you guys going back and forth about Caleb Williams and Jaevon saying, oh, top 15. And Kevin, you brought up, oh, you said that 3 years ago. Like, it's taken this long for him to actually like enter that conversation, whether if it's even in a debate. But Jaevon, before I toss it to you first, because this is your guy, being Caleb Williams, I just wanted to put a meme on the screen that I've had this one bookmarked for a while, but I've been waiting for the right moment. As Caleb Williams, he's just a cool guy. He's just casual. He's just a cool guy, and he's feeling quite good about himself. With I believe off memory, the Bears are now 6-3. Oh, I got you. Well, anyways, point being, Bears win. Giants fire their coach. But before we get to the Daboll firing, Jaevon, what was your reaction to the Bears beating the Giants 24-20.
Caleb, the coach killer? Gets guys fired. Hey, Kevin, I just want to let you know, I wasn't wrong. I was just early. I wasn't wrong about Caleb. I was just early on him.
Toddy, I know we're trying to get out of here early for Shaun, but I guarantee you Shaun and I could both name 15 better quarterbacks.
Okay, let's just put this here. The Bears are 6-3. You're a stats guy. It's stats over politics. The Bears are tied for first place in the NFC North today.
You're welcome.
There's just somebody on this podcast, he said that the Bears would win their division. Called me a madman. Said I was insane. I don't know ball. I don't know what I'm talking about. But there's just somebody on this podcast that predicted for this to happen. And it's happening. Now, that might be year 2 Caleb, Ben Johnson. I do think Ben Johnson does play a big role into his success because he needed a guy that was going to grab him by the reins and just say, hey, this is what we're going to do. It's not going to be pretty at first, but we're going to get guys to buy in and we're going to believe. After every game, Ben Johnson goes into the locker room. His speeches, he said, we don't apologize for winning. Doesn't matter how we do it. Doesn't matter how we get the win. We're not going to apologize for how we're going to win. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. I think this Bears team, now albeit, I get it. People are going to pull up they're going to pull up that schedule up and be like, are you talking about these Bears? The Raiders, the Saints, the Giants. Like, you were down, you're 2-7 Giants, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, 4 fourth quarter comebacks. I mean,
Caleb, can we talk about the clutch factor? A lot of guys were folding that situation. I saw a guy who was MVP of the league last year that got blown out by the Dolphins. 31-13. Gotta beat the teams that are on your schedule. Now, Caleb keeps playing like this. He had 2 total touchdowns, 220 yards passing, 20-36. Didn't have a good start, but he had a great finish. Won him the game. Another game-winning drive. Caleb Williams, top 15 quarterback in the NFL. God's balling, man. Now he's got a schedule ahead of him. This is where people are starting to figure out if you're feast or famine. They're going to be, all right, you got the Packers twice. You got the Vikings mixed in there. There's a little bit of Lions, a lot of divisional games.
Niners, Eagles.
Niners in the game. You're going to see what you're made of.
You see them crumble.
You're going to see a lot. You're going to see the next half of this schedule. You're going to see what this Bears team is made of. And I'm going to hold firm on my statement about Caleb being top 15 quarterback, and the Bears are going to win the division. That's just me. They got a little bit of a cushion with a 6-3 record, so they're going to drop some of these games. I'm not going to lie to you. They're going to battle. They're going to fight. They're not going to go 7-0, 6-0, whatever the rest of their schedule is. They're not going to go undefeated. However, I think the Bears are going to make the playoffs. Now, I said that they were going to win their division, so that is implying that they will make the playoffs. So, I mean, I'm not trying to, have to spell it out for you, but I mean, this is kind of what it's looking like. This is what they're trending towards. This is what Ben Johnson's capable of. This is what Caleb Williams is capable of. This is a solid team, man. This is a solid football team. I get it. People are going to talk. They're going to look at the schedule and be like, same guys. I mean, my son, my 1-year-old son can play the schedule and win 5-6 games.
Barely beat Joe Flacco.
They're on put
Marcus Mariota
with Joe Flacco.
Geno Smith.
The only thing I am very concerned about this team is that Bears defense is so inconsistent on when it wants to play good and when it wants to kind of just, we'll just let you gash us for 80 yards drive or 70. Go drive down the field whenever you want. So the Bears team is geared up for a playoff run. Don't let the Bears get into the playoffs. And Caleb, this is a dangerous team. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, Kevin. Now is your opportunity to channel Gary and be your best devil's advocate, even though I know it's not going to be too hard when it comes to this Caleb Williams discussion.
It's not. He's okay. You beat Marcus Mariota by 1. You beat Geno Smith by 1.
Hater.
You beat Joe Flacco by 5, and you beat Jackson Dart by 4. The Eagles, you guys lost to Jackson Dart. We beat them. I think the second game was more of a. I think the first game was more of a jinx or an odd game because the second game we just beat them, belt to ass. But I mean, hey, Caleb Williams did his thing. I'm happy Roma Dunze's dad came out there and said some shit because hey, Roma Dunze got the ball first play. What did he say after the game? He said, "Thanks, Dad." So Johnson making this team what they are.
Works.
Trolling works. Ben Johnson said, "You're my number one guy, and we're gonna make sure you get the ball." But what I want to come on here and really talk about now that we've gotten all that Bears nonsense out of the way, Brian Daboll didn't deserve to get fired. This is malpractice as an organization. You make the playoffs, you sign Daniel Jones, you trade Daniel Jones, you let Saquon Barkley walk out the door next year, Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion. You let Xavier McKinney go next year, All Pro. It's becoming the thing to say once you leave the Giants, you flourish. And why is that? I get it. The bottom feeders of the NFC East. Every team's getting better and better and better. This team was competing with Russell Wilson in the game. Jackson Dart has given this team life. Cam Scatterboo has given this team life. And I was telling a couple of my friends before the season, Jackson Dart's performance will either save Brian Daboll's job or get him fired. Brian Daboll has been a coach in the NFL because he said, "Oh, you're a 6'6" quarterback and you run really fast and throw the ball 80 yards? Josh Allen, I think you might be good. Let me go ahead and attach my name to that." Like, we all knew he was going to be good. He was drafted high for a reason. This defense is abysmal. Like, they're giving up 30 plus points a night. So as much as you want to say Brian Daboll is the main factor in this equation, they're going to let him go, and they're still going to lose games. If Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatterboo are out there, they look a lot different because Darius Slayton was making play after play after play after play. Theo Johnson making play after play after play. Abdul Carter, Kevon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, like they have the pieces. I mean, it's hard when your field is cursed. I mean, Malik Neighbors, we were having conversations about him being a top 10 quarterback or receiver last year. So, I mean, they have the weapons. They have the guys. In my opinion, they gave Jackson Dart the keys too late. In a situation like this, you trade up to get a guy. You're putting your name attached to him. He is going to either save my job or lose me my job. He should have been out there from day one because they were starting off really good, and I get it. Russell Wilson was leading the NFL in passing yards for a hot minute. Jackson Dart is the guy. You chose him to be the guy. He needs to be the guy. We saw the Saints give Tyler Shucks the role. You got to get if you're going to attach your name to him, you have to give him the job from day one. And if this team was healthy, do I think it looks any different? Probably not. But this was a team that had a lead until 3 minutes to go against the top 15 quarterback, a playoff team. You know what I mean? So if we hold Caleb Williams and the Bears into that kind of tier, on the other side of the coin, shouldn't we give the Giants the respect they deserve? So I don't think they should have done it. And I am terrified to see who they bring in to be their head coach because they have a lot of weapons there. And if they can get the right kind of coach, we saw the Brian Johnson, not Brian Johnson, excuse me, the Ben Johnson effect. We saw we see Dan Campbell. We see the Texans. Shane Steichen. Like, if you get a good head coach and the guy that's going to get this locker room to rally, this team could be good. And you look at this team and say, as a Giants fan, as an Eagles fan, but if I want to be a Giants fan, this was the best 3-4 run years we've had since Eli. We went to the playoffs. We went to Minnesota and beat Minnesota. When are they going to make the playoffs again? So Brian Daboll will definitely be a coach again. It just kind of sucks to see. And if you would have had a betting odds of who would be the first coach fired, it wouldn't be Brian Daboll. But Mike McDaniel still has a job. So I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised by the timing of the firing too, because I thought if the Giants were going to fire Brian Daboll, that it would have been at the end of the season. But for them to do it midway, especially after both of those significant injuries to their young stars that you mentioned, Kevin, between Neighbors and Scadaboo, it really shocked me. And I thought that Jackson Dart was going to be the one who saved his job. And Jackson Dart has played well enough that I thought he would have saved the job, but apparently not. And as I said to our group chat earlier, it seems like John Mara, the owner of the Giants, he just got impatient when it came to Brian Daboll, that he was just like, I've seen enough. We're going to fire him at the end of the season. Just let him go now. But it's like, what are you going to accomplish over the rest of the season? Like, to me, that's a move that they had already decided no matter what happens for the rest of the season, he's gone. And so why wait for the inevitable when they could just do it now? But Jaevon, did you have a reaction to the Giants firing their head coach Brian Daboll today?
Yeah, I thought it was a little premature. You look at the personnel that they have, Jackson Dart providing the spark that Giants team needed after Daniel Jones obviously leaves, and just having a new flame, just new rejuvenation around the team. You could see that he kind of galvanizes everybody on that team with his energy, alongside with Cam Scadaboo before he had that ankle fracture. And obviously, they lose a guy in Malik Neighbors. So if you look at the cornerstone pieces of his team, it's Jackson Dart, Cam Scadaboo, and Malik Neighbors, all injured. I do think one of the knocks on Jackson Dart coming into the league, I was watching one of the Gruden's QB camps, and he kept pointing out in his tape that you have to learn how to slide. Because in the NFL, if you are going to go head up with, let's just give examples. There's guys like just Roquan Smith. There's the likes of a Fred Warner, who's obviously injured. Zach Bond. Like, if you get hit by one of these guys, you're gonna
hurt.
You're gonna get hurt. So he was preaching to him to get down. You want to be able to be available, is something that he kept saying. The best ability is availability. If you put yourself at harm's risk against one of these guys, you're going to get hurt. And that was something that he's already been in the medical tent for a concussion before. And that was when everybody was going in and checking in on him, and they got fined for doing that. And then obviously yesterday he went out with a concussion. You could question some of Brian Daboll's play calls as well, running a bunch of QB power with him. But I do think when the play breaks down, Dart is going to try and make a play at all times. And when he is able to make plays with his legs, he has to learn how to get down and slide, because he's the franchise quarterback. And when he's not out there, they're pretty much fucked, because I don't know if you guys saw Russell Wilson came in the game. People were like, oh, this guy.
Here we go.
This guy stinks.
They were like, please, no. Kevin, or as Shaun puts up the meme, boo this man. Yeah, so he's got to be able to learn how to protect himself at all times when he's outside of the pocket. And moving forward, I do like this team. I think their D-line is, I've kind of mentioned it before in past, their D-line, I believe, is one of the most talented D-lines in the NFL. I'm not sure about their secondary, has been in question. I love the pieces, the cornerstone pieces, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scadaboo, and Jackson Dart at the helm. I think they're going to be really good. As far as this year, they're probably going to punt on this year and get a high draft pick. They probably would have wished it would have been a year later that all of this happened, because I don't know if you guys know, Jeremiah Smith is coming out that year, and that receiver class as a whole is going to be loaded. So maybe a year too early on right now when it comes to drafting a wide receiver, because I feel like they're another receiver away from being really, really good. But I do think this year they'll probably be able to get maybe a really, really good corner or a DB. Kev could probably pull up their just mock drafts on who the Giants would be. But I would imagine they're like top 5 right now, because they're like 2-8. So, yeah, Giants fans probably got to look forward to the draft. But I think next year they'll be solid moving forward.
Yeah, my final thought on Brian Daboll getting fired is it just made me think back to that Broncos game in Denver when the Giants had controlled the entire game. I think they're up 19-0 after three quarters, and then the Broncos score 33 points in the fourth quarter, and they go on to win that game on the same day that they were honoring Demaryius Thomas and inducting him into the Broncos Hall of Fame. And so I just think to myself, like, if the Giants hold on to win that game, Brian Daboll is very likely still the head coach of that team. Instead, now he's without a job. And it's just crazy because I think back to Brian Daboll as the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator and just how much hype he had taking over the Giants. And now here we are, what is it, 3-4 years later? And just it's amazing how quickly things can change. But that's why, excuse me, that's why the NFL as an acronym, some people say it stands for not for long because things change very quickly and goodwill changes very quickly in the NFL. And so before we move on and we get to our speedy week 10 NFL recap to close things out, I did want to bring up one more thing regarding the Bears beating the Giants because Jaevon, Grey Wolf presented two very good points. And so I'm going to throw the Shrek meme on the screen because I feel like this is how you're going to feel. He says the Bears' next three games is Vikings, Steelers, and Eagles. And then he also says not only can the Bears potentially lead the division, but quote unquote, depending in all caps on what happens in the next 3 weeks, Bears have a slim chance of leading the conference. And so now I'll fade out the Shrek
Grant,
meme.
what are we doing?
He's not lying, though. I'm not. From a mathematics standpoint, he is not lying. The Eagles are what? What do you guys get? 7-2?
Yeah, top of division, top of the conference.
Eagles are 6, or Bears are 6-3. The Bears go 3-0. They're literally leading the conference. Now, I do not think they are going to go 3-0 on that stretch. I do think they're going to go 2-1 on that stretch, though. I do think that they can beat the Vikings and they can beat the Steelers. The Eagles game, I'll probably chalk that one up. But that is something that is very, very possible. And by Thanksgiving, the Bears could be leading their division, and they could be one of the top teams in the NFC. So the Bears, man, hey, I was giving the Bears a lot of love early in the season, a lot of love right now on the podcast. It's not crazy. Grey Wolf makes a really, really good point. Appreciate you listening, by the way.
JJ McCarthy owns Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Well, Jaevon, I'm proud of you because I really thought that you were going to end up saying that the Bears were going to go 3-0 in the next 3 weeks. But props to you. Whether
like, let's put some money on it, put 100 on it.
You know better.
Yeah, you know him all too well. And so, guys, now let's look back at Week 10 in the NFL, and we'll start things off with Thursday Night Football, Kevin, as the Broncos beat the Raiders 10-7.
You know, for those of you that follow us on social media, Toddy said this team is the best team in the world. And just like Caleb Williams, 8-2, top of the division. They've beaten Cam Ward, Joe Flacco, Tyrod Taylor, Jackson Dart, Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, and Geno Smith. So you know
good
what?
Quarterbacks on that list, Kev.
Yeah, I guess so. They were down 33-0 to the Giants. They were down 24-0 to us. They were to come back. So I mean, hey, they won those games, but I think Toddy's the only person in the world that holds them up to that caliber. But hell of a game. They're able to get a dub, and it's not easy to win the NFL. So shout out to Bo Nix. You were able to beat the Raiders by 3 points. Congratulations.
He did not play good in that game.
Well, Jaevon, this next game breaks my heart to talk about, but the Rams beat the 49ers 42-26 at Levi Stadium. And before I get your analysis on this game, I'll point out the comment from @LilJonesy on Instagram says, "Go Rams." And so what are your thoughts on quite literally a beatdown, as it was said in our group chat?
They put belt ass on us. There's not really. I'm in a Niner group chat, and I just kept saying hot butter through a knife. That defense just running through us like hot butter in a knife. They did whatever they had their way. It's kind of hard when your defense is missing a lot of key players. You got an ACL here, ACL there, broken foot here. It's hard to replace those guys. And at some point in time, people are going to figure out, like, hey, they're missing this guy, this year. Let's just run right at him. Kyron Williams had his way. Matthew Stafford is one of the best MVP. Like, he's probably, I think he's leading. You think he's favored to win MVP currently. But he's playing lights out as far as just this year as a whole. He's just one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it this year. But even in the last game, he freaking balled out. Almost had 400 yards, like 5 touchdowns. Did pick him up on waivers a couple weeks ago. He was just sitting there. Nobody wanted him. I was like, Matthew Stafford's a good quarterback. I'm starving for a QB. Why don't I pick this guy up? Been lights out ever since. This Rams team they probably should have been in the top 5. It's okay. Hey, that's why we're here, guys. We have rough drafts of things. We get to see them play every week.
Ain't no we. I think everyone had them but you.
So I just as far as the Niners go, they can only do so much. I think the Niners literally with this defense, they have to play perfect. And by perfect, I mean you can't turn the ball over. You gotta score pretty much on every drive. Because if we're hoping that the defense can get a stop, you're hoping for a lot. And Niners couldn't get a stop in any key moments in time. Had the turnover in the soon-to-be red zone with the Jaevon Jennings fumble. So I just think right now the Niners are in a weird space on where they are as a franchise, and they got to figure out a lot of things coming. So shout out to the Rams.
Yeah, Kevin, I did not have the Rams in my top 5 either. I had the Seahawks in my top 5 instead of the Rams, and it was because the way I chose my top 5 is I was just comparing like the teams that they lost to and the teams that they beat. And so the Rams, if we came up with this top 5 this upcoming week, I'd have the Rams in there because the Rams, they balanced out that loss that they had against the 49ers. But losing to a 49ers team led by Mac Jones and a bunch of other guys, I couldn't have the Rams in my top 5 at this point or at that point. But now.
So then the Eagles would be in your top 5. We did it again?
Oh, the Eagles, yeah. Eagles would have to be in the top 5. The reason why I didn't have the Eagles in the top 5 is because it was really, really hard for me to overlook that 17-point loss to the Giants. Like I understand that the Eagles got their get back against the Giants leading into our top 5 last week, but 5 is a really small list, and there are some good teams out there. And so that's why I had the Eagles on the outside looking in, the Rams on the outside looking in. But at this point, I think they'd all be in there. And me having the Buccaneers at number 1 after they lost to the Patriots, who I had at number 5, it all gets shaken up. And as we've talked about before, it's fluid. And so maybe we should make this a regular thing because then we'll start seeing our top 5 list every single week. Or maybe we can even throw it in as a segment. But that's something that the guys and I will talk about in the future. We'll workshop it and keep it going. As getting to this next game is mine. And it was a game played in Berlin, Germany, as the Colts beat the Falcons 31-25 in overtime. I don't know if either of you guys were up to watch this game. Jaevon, you might have been because of being a podfather and everything. And so you got the early hours every single day. But the Colts ended up winning this one 31-25 in overtime. And basically my whole thoughts on this game is that Jonathan Taylor, as I said to you guys in the pre-show meeting, before we officially started today, Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in football. He is just producing astronomical numbers week in and week out. This week, 32 carries for 244 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. I don't have him on any of my 4 fantasy teams, and I feel like a dummy for not managing to get him on at least one of those teams. Kevin, did you want to say something?
No, I was saying I know you got no ball because me and Toddy got him.
Yeah, I
Got him on
don't.
both my fantasy teams.
Yep, Jaevon knows ball. I do not. Kevin also knows ball. But yeah, Colts they bounce back from that loss to the Steelers. They're now 8-2, and the Colts are making me feel pretty good about having them in my top five at number 4. And
You
so
do have Daniel
now,
Jones though.
hey, I do have Daniel Jones now because I just traded Parker Washington Jr.
And
to
he went
Kevin
nuts.
for.
He was on my bench. If I would have lost, I would have cried.
Well, I saw that Tez Johnson on the Buccaneers. He also had a good game with 2 touchdown receptions, and I was about to text you and say you should have got Tez instead. Like I tried to trade him to you, but then I looked at your bench and I saw Parker Washington got like 17, and so I was like, okay, like he did pretty good. Like there's no need for me to talk shit because Parker did pretty good as well. But anyways, now moving on, Kevin, it's back to you. The Jets beat the Browns 27-20.
God damn. This game was hard to watch. It got to a point where the offense wasn't on the field for like 20 minutes for the Jets. Kick return touchdown, punt return touchdown. I was like, you know what, Garrett, just sit down. They got you back. Dylan Gabriel is going to do Dylan Gabriel things. As the New York Jets to get their second win on the season, maybe third, I believe, second or third. Hell yeah, you beat the Browns. I was honestly hoping we got a Shador Sanders sighting, second win. But Dylan Gabriel was throwing the ball in the dirt. Jerry Jeudy came back to life. I'm in 4 fantasy leagues, and he's dropped on every league. So just to see how far the mighty have fallen, he had a run last year. But Breece Hall, after all the news, all that young 2020 draft class with him and or with Garrett and Sauce gets traded, Quinn gets traded. Him and Garrett are looking around like, are we getting traded? And for those to be the 2 foundational pieces of this offense, Garrett Wilson is still battling back from injury, but Breece Hall, man, showing why he deserves to get all those touches. So I'm happy to see him there, and I'm happy he didn't end up on the Chiefs.
Yeah, and before we get to this next game, Jaevon, I wanted to highlight a YouTube comment from our friend Rakeem who says, "What's up, my guys? We appreciate you, Rakeem. Thanks for tuning in." And Kevin, I don't know if you know, but Rakeem is also a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan, and so
My guy.
he's right there with you, celebrating with his Kelly Green as well. Jaevon, now that takes us to the AFC South as the Texans beat the Jaguars 36-29.
I forgot that Davis Mills was starting in this game, and just the first half, man, it was just all Jags. Trevor Lawrence was pretty much doing whatever. ETN was getting involved. Parker Washington getting the ball a little bit in space, and then all of a sudden, the Texans defense woke up and was like, "We're playing a game today," and completely locked up. I think in the second half, the Texans outscored the Jags. It was like 36-0 in the second half. And Davis Mills had a game-winning touchdown. And fun fact about Davis Mills, Kevin and I bet a long time ago, 2 years ago, that Davis Mills would have, I think it was more passing yards, touchdowns than Trey Lance. And old Trey Lance broke his ankle in the second game.
I remember
Guess
that.
who lost?
I remember that.
Great money in my pocket.
Kevin won
So
by a
fucked.
technicality
So fucked.
because Davis Mills was hot cheeks that year. But because Trey Lance shattered his ankle, he was physically unable to perform the rest of the year, and I lost money. So, congrats to the Jets and not the Jets. Congrats to the Texans. Are the Texans live to sneak into the playoffs? Maybe. I don't know. I think their defense is really good. TJ Stroud's coming back. Maybe they can make a little bit of noise. I feel like the AFC is kind of wide open on who can and can't make the playoffs. But I do think for this particular division, you got to win the division to get in. So I do think the Colts have a big enough lead on that division right now. But I do think the Texans can shake a little bit things up. I think they're, 3-5 right now? So if you kind of look at the AFC, like their teams, like I don't know, the Chiefs, they're 5-4. So I mean, they're kind of creeping a little bit. Watch out for the Texans.
Yeah, Texans now stand at 4-5. The Jags are 5-4, and as Jaevon was saying, the Texans outscored the Jaguars 26-0 in the second half. Or excuse me, 26-0 in the fourth quarter, as the Jaguars did score 9 points in the third quarter, but I mean, that's Jaevon. That game is very reminiscent to me of that Broncos and Giants game where you just see a lot of points scored in one quarter, and that's how the game can get flipped on
An
its head.
overbetter's dream.
Yes, an overbetter's dream for sure. So we go from the AFC South to the AFC East. This one was a shocker. I believe Kevin was the one who alluded to this one earlier, as the Dolphins beat the Bills 30-13, and Josh Allen, the MVP. I can't figure out this Bills team. They lose on Monday Night Football by double digits to the Falcons, and then they lose by 17 in Miami against the Dolphins. And this is a Dolphins team without Tyreek Hill. They appear to be in shambles. They come into this game at 2-7. They get the win, and Devon Achane is a big reason why. He is the reason why. 22 carries, 174 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. He ran wild, and it made me happy because he's on 2 of my fantasy teams, including my dynasty league, where I'm going to be keeping him for his whole career unless I get a steal of a deal. But nevertheless, I don't know what to think of this Bills team, and I, for one, am glad that I did not feature the Bills in my top 5 this past week because this loss was
This goal did.
It's all right. This loss was just absolutely disgusting. And yeah, I was the only one of us who didn't have the Bills in their top 5. But there is a lot that I got wrong as well. Now, Kevin, pivoting to another Florida team, but this Florida team was on the losing end as the Patriots beat the Buccaneers 28-23 in the Tom Brady Bowl.
Finally, Travion Henderson, baby. Finally, we show why they took him with the number 1 pick in the second round. God damn it, give him the ball and get the hell out the way. Okay?
He needed permission to score.
There is no more Ramondre Stevenson. I don't care how good his toe comes back. I don't want to see him on the field again. Travion Henderson could do it in the pass game. He could do it in the run game. Yesterday, he looked fantastic. We've seen Quinshon Judkins made the jump from that Ohio State backfield to Cleveland. Travion Henderson was just waiting for his time. And when he got his number called, he played. And this was a game where I thought Baker Mayfield was going to have another fourth quarter comeback. They got down, and I was like, oh, well, there you go. Drake May, MVP. Go ahead and wrap it on up. And then Baker Mayfield is on the verge of another fourth quarter comeback. Emeka Egbuka is just stamping himself in this NFL. But the Patriots get it done, man. Stephon Diggs, every third game, put him on the parlay because he going to do something. So it was crazy for them to go in there and get that W. So hats off to them, especially on a day where the Bills look like shit. I know none of us picked the Patriots to win the division, but shit, it's looking like it.
Crazy, absolutely crazy, especially with the Bills losing those random games. And Jaevon, another team that's on a roll is the Ravens, who after a 1-5 start, they have won 3 games in a row after they beat the Vikings 27-19.
I think it's pretty evident when Lamar Jackson does not play football for the Ravens lose. Albeit they did lose a couple of games while he was in the lineup. A lot of injuries to the defense were playing a significant role in a lot of their losses. But I do now think that since their team is healthy and Lamar is playing football for the Ravens got us. They're minus 270 to win the division, and they are 4-5. That is just insane to even think about. So Vegas is telling you that we don't believe in the Steelers team, that they're going to be able to hang on. And they once upon a time had like a 3-game lead on this division. Now you got Joe Burrow open up his practice window today. Lamar Jackson's been on a roll, and the Browns, they're gonna Brown, and I don't know what they're doing. But the Ravens as a team are just on a roll, and they're cooking up something crazy. As far as the Vikings go, this team, why Justin Jefferson? He is not being able to JJ McCarthy will have these games where he looks like, oh, this was the right pick. And then he has these games of why can't we get why did we let Sam Darnold go, and why can't we get our guys the ball? Like Jalen Naylor was heavily involved in the offense. But you can't get Justin Jefferson involved. I mean, it's not really making sense. But at the same time, J.J. McCarthy didn't play at all last year due to injury, so he's missed a lot of practice time reps, a lot of game reps. He was even hurt this year, so he's like kind of still figuring it out on the go on how to play quarterback in the NFL. So those things take time, but at the same time, you want to be able to get your guys the ball as well.
Yep, as we get to our final three games here in the last 10 minutes of episode 167, I got the next one bringing us to the NFC South as the Saints beat the Panthers 17-7 to get their second win of the season. And the Panthers are just another team that I cannot figure out. They beat the Packers at Lambeau, and then they lose at home to the New Orleans Saints, led by the super old rookie, Tyler Shook. It just doesn't make sense to me. But, credit to Tyler Shook. He looked a lot better in this game than Bryce Young did. 19 of 27 for 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Bryce Young, 17 of 25 for 124 yards and an interception. The big difference in this game was the fact that the Saints found a way to contain Rico Daboll. 18 carries, 53 yards, and a touchdown. That's a very pedestrian stat line for Rico. And the Panthers are just another team that I just cannot figure out. And so they will be a mystery for another week. As Kevin, if you could, actually, you know what? I'm going to save that one for Jaevon. Kevin, I'm going to toss to you. Your next opponent is the Lions, who beat your division rival, the Commanders, 44-22 in Maryland.
NFC Championship game rematch. No Jaden Daniels, no Terry McLaurin. Built to ask. Simple as that. They covered the over by themselves. You saw Dan Campbell calling plays. Jameson Williams gets involved. He has such a good game. Toddy said, Kevin, I'm going to trade him for Jahmyr Gibbs. And I said, Toddy, he had one good game. You're smoking dick. Leave me alone. So he thought that one game was going to tell me, oh, my God, you're going to be Jameson Williams? Oh, my God. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. So
he's exposing you.
That's crazy.
Hats off to them. But we'll see the Lions next week. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my God, you just embarrassed Toddy right there by
he embarrassed him. He should be embarrassed. That's what I felt. I thought it was a joke. I thought he was going to send it to me. I would pay me $100. I'd be like, all right, now it makes sense. You're trading me $100 versus James Hill.
Oh my God. All right, Jaevon, if you could close us out with our Week 10 recap. We're bringing it back home to the NFC West as the Seahawks doubled up the Cardinals 44-22 with the identical score to the game that Kevin just talked about.
I don't think there's a coincidence that Kyler Murray gets benched the week that Call of Duty comes out. I don't think it's a coincidence. November 14th, he knew. He was like, hey, my foot hurts. I got to go home. I got to ice it. We got to make sure that we're doing what needs to be done. This game was only a 7.5-point spread, and they beat the shit out of the Cardinals. Like, it wasn't even close.
28-0 in the first quarter.
Jackson Smith and Jigba is a top 5 wide receiver. There's
no really debate. No argument.
There's nothing. I can't really say anything. Every week, I keep on getting reminded that I was wrong about Jackson Smith and Jigba. I was unfamiliar with his game. I said it was okay. He was in, he had DK, he had Lockett. He wasn't really going to be able to do anything with those guys. So maybe those guys were in his way, and obviously that was 100% the case. Hey, man, he's got 1,000 yards already through the first, 9 weeks? It's remarkable what he's doing. Sam Darnold, Hooper. They play the Rams next week, so that's going to be a really, really, really good game. The NFC West is, I think, the best division in football. I think 3 teams probably come out of this division. The Cardinals, on the other hand, I think they let the Dallas Cowboys trick them into thinking that Jacoby Brissett was a really good quarterback. But then again, they're playing against the Cowboys secondary. And kind of made them, they're like, Marvin Harrison had his career high in catches. We got to start this guy over Kyler. And then you saw, Marvin Harrison, he's breaking down Deron Bland on Monday Night Football. He's smiling in the post-game press like, I was getting the ball, guys. Like, whoa. So, Cardinals just got a lot of work just as a team. Defense isn't good. The quarterback situation is up in there. They got a really good receiver, really good tight end. And they have a really good running back, but he's out for the year. But I just think they got a lot of other things to figure out than just the quarterback situation, which is kind of a shit show right now. Is Jonathan Gannon the guy? I don't know. So that could be another thing to definitely look at as far as Arizona talk, because they got a lot of things they got to worry about. So I don't think anyone's safe on that roster currently, besides Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison. Other than that, everybody else is kind of up in the air.
Yep, I agree. Any final thoughts, guys, before we get on out of here?
Friday, 7:00, NBA episode.
There you go. I'll be covering the first week of the high school football playoffs in the Sac Joaquin section for West Coast Preps. So stay tuned to my social media feeds. Well, it's just starting out in the quarterfinals. The big difference in this year's playoffs is that they adopted a bowl format. So all the teams that did not make the playoffs, they all played in quote unquote bowl games this past week, basically a consolation bracket. And they trimmed down the brackets from 12 teams to now 8. And so Folsom's going to probably win D1 again. Then you look at D2, it's going to be between Granite Bay and Manteca. You look at D3, Oakdale's probably going to win D3. D4 is probably 12 Bridges again. 12 Bridges has been a great program out of Lincoln ever since they opened their school. Yeah, like 5 years ago. D5 is going to probably be Casa Roble or Sutter that'll win it. D6, my old team that I used to cover, Sonora is by far the favorite in D6, but Woodland Christian could end up sneaking in there. And D7 is Calaveras is probably going to win D7. And right now I'm mentioning a lot of the top seeds, so I'm not going out on a limb. But I'm excited for the playoffs to get started. It's the best time of the year, and I'm going to see some state champions crowned in less than a month or in about a month. And so I'm excited for it. Thank you guys for holding it down for me on Fridays with the NBA episodes until the high school football season comes to an end. And that's going to do it for episode 167 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats Over Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuning into episode number 167 of Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, Kaz Johnson, Alex Dent, and Gary Singh, I've been your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. We will see you on Friday for another episode of Stats Over Politics. Peace.